event. Let's say we're gonna start recording this event, and before we start, I just want to, let everybody know that all the opinions expressed by our participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions of their respective company, ERG organization, or SHEP chapters. And again, welcome to our first TBAC HoLA ERG Hispanic Forum. And I want to introduce our four with me panelists. We have Jane Neri. It's Neri, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Or Narey, if we're talking in Spanish, like I work for Laidos or Leídos for SHEP. Eileen Tapia and Manny De La Cruz. And the first question I have for all each of you is if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your personal background, career, involvement on your respective ERG, BRG, and involvement on the Hispanic community and SHEP. James, you would like to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. Thank you, Juan, for having us. So it's always good to see our fellow Region 5 Familia get together again. So yeah, so just a little bit of background about me. I currently work for Lockheed Martin Aeronautics in Fort Worth, Texas. So I've been with the company now for 20 years, and I'm an associate tech fellow over the electrical systems domain. So I'm in product development, designing our power generation, conversion, distribution, and battery systems on the aircraft that we build here in Fort Worth. My involvement with business resource groups is I'm currently acting as the Aeronautics Vice Chair, so I oversee all the operations for our Fort Worth, Marietta, and Palmdale facilities, BRG operations through our Hispanic BRG HoLA. And then my involvement in SHIP and my Hispanic community. Those of you know that I'm very passionate and active in the K through 16 STEM outreach initiatives, and I've served as chapter secretary, chapter president, Region 5 Vice President, Region 5 Junior Representative, and currently serving as the VP of Community Outreach for the SHIP Lockheed Martin Professional Chapter. I graduated from UT Arlington with my bachelor's in electrical engineering. I have my master's of science and technical management from Embry-Riddle, and I also have my MBA from UT Arlington as well. So that's a little bit about me.
All right, great. How about you, Eileen?
In humble terms, James. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. My name is Eileen Tapia. I am originally from Ciudad Juarez, El Paso. Been in border cities most of my life. I graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso with my industrial and systems engineering degree. Started working full-time at Accenture, being at Accenture now 3 years, which is crazy to think how fast time has gone by. And that was my collegiate years was when I first started interacting with SHIP and being a chapter member and community member. That I was president, went on to being regional leadership, also national board. And when I graduated, I moved to Houston. So I was in Houston for some time, was involved with the SHIP Houston Professional Chapter, got involved with special projects. And really, the SHIP Houston chapter was the one that gave me a new home away from El Paso, because it was a new change, never been in such a big city by myself, away from family. And then recently, a year ago, I moved to Dallas for personal reasons. Now I'm engaged. We have a dog, which is very exciting, the changes in my life. And at Accenture, what I've been focusing on is getting involved with SHIP recruiting. So our Accenture team has a team dedicated to go to SHIP, to the national conference, and engage throughout the year to recruit our talent. And so that was my main focus for my first few years. Now I am super excited that I took on a new role to be the UTEP Business Lead Recruiting to get more opportunities for our UTEP students, to get a pipeline going to Accenture, which hadn't been done before. And I'm super excited I was chosen to be part of this big initiative to provide more opportunities to our talented students that we know that a lot of people don't go all the way out there because we're not really known until now. So I'm excited about that opportunity. And I recently graduated also with my master's in systems engineering from UTEP. So also leveraging that in my line of work on digital transformation, mainly for the oil and gas chemicals industry in our South region, as part of the Industry X team at Accenture.
Right. Eileen, you say that Accenture had 18 dedicated people working for and trying to capture SHIP members?
I don't know the specific numbers. I just know we have a team dedicated for some of our strategic partnerships, and I was part of that team as a business recruiter. And I don't know the specifics of numbers who's dedicated for that.
And you are right. UTEP is a gold mine, and hopefully others will, sooner or later, other companies will find out, the quality of the graduates from UTEP. I have a very good experience while I was the storefront manager for Lockheed Martin. When we were Lockheed Martin, we have a storefront at Prairie and UTEP, and the quality of the engineers there was very good. And yes, Manny, we can see you, and you are welcome to now introduce yourself.
Perfect. Juan, again, thanks for the invite. So my name's Manny De La Cruz. I am a product of the community college in San Antonio. So went to SAC and went to UTSA, and that was around the time that I got involved with a group like SHIP, much smaller, called MIAS, but still a very, I guess I'll say a minority student organization supporting STEM, those that are in STEM, right? So that's where my journey kind of started. I think through my involvement in the student component of these organizations, I met professionals like us that are in this forum, right? That saw some raw talent and said, "Hey, let's help this person get boardroom ready," right? So I managed to talk to recruiters from Lockheed was one of them. I was very close to ending up in Florida back in the day, but I did get snagged up by ExxonMobil. I was given an opportunity to do an internship in Baton Rouge area. Did great thanks to the support of my student org and my mentors, and that opportunity. So I've been with ExxonMobil for about 10 years now. During that time, I've been blessed enough to get on the other side of the recruiting table. So I started with being to the point where I got into the SHIP ExxonMobil recruiting team. So ExxonMobil does have a specific recruiting team that goes to SHIP, manages the corporate relationship. I started off as being one of those, resume screeners at the table, early career, to now being, I'll say I'm part of the IPC representing the company, and I'm a vice president with our in-house ERG group goal, the Global Organization for the Advancement of Latinos. And so I'm the recruiting vice president, but part of that is also helping manage the corporate relationship with HSF, with SHIP, with the and others. There's other things that I'm involved with. This, you know how it goes. You get involved in DE&I initiatives, you find yourself. We have an internal Future Leaders Academy program whose focus is to identify underrepresented minorities, right? Latinos, African Americans, and Native Americans, and getting them through, let's call it a leadership training, and ultimately, hopefully, into some internships and conversions into full-time employees. So a lot of my time with the Hispanic community has been in this space, right? I know how Engineering has been life-changing for me. I like to say, hey, I am proud of my family tree, but one branch looks a little different now, right? And the future of what comes off of that branch is a very promising. So I contribute all that to my participation in initiatives like these, like SHEP, and I'm proud to involved with this. My full-time job, right? So I'm sure, like many of us, we have what our full-time job is, and this extra, but it's well worth it, and it's at this point more of a passion. And I don't think I would like what I do in the absence of these opportunities. So excited to kind of be here and talk about stuff today.
Okay, before we continue, I'm gonna put Manny on the spot. Don't be shy, Manny. But
okay.
what happened?
Don't be mad. What comes out of my mouth? I'm just kidding.
Okay. Manny have a podcast that is being right now on vacation, I'm guessing, but
Yes.
a very, very important podcast for the students, for people who want to learn. It's been a very, very good experience. Listen to Manny and the guest. Manny, is the podcast coming soon?
We're getting close. Certainly have not forgotten about that. That was, I'm an engineer, but I'm also, like all of us, right? We got those artistic bones, right? Somewhere neat, and doing the podcast has been fun. It went on vacation, just like a lot of other things went on vacation because of COVID, and to adjust to, what the heck life in oil and gas was going to be. And it was when it came down to the seriatim of things to do, unfortunately, that project had to be put to the side for a little bit. But I certainly today, when I got out some stuff to get ready for this call, I was like, "Ooh, this is fun." I forgot what this is like. So yeah. Who knows?
We definitely, I think we all concur that we would like to see Manny talk back and live. Now, James, how do you evaluate the benefits of the BRGs, ERGs, in increasing career opportunities for minorities and women, and how you about the retention and creating the feeling of a familia at Lockheed?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. So some of the things we do here within HoLA is, we provide some cultural engagement activities, basically, where we showcase, different Hispanic heritage foods or delicacies from our native countries. Also, we have kind of like how to trivia game nights, how to speak Spanish in different countries, basically. So it's kind of a fun social game, basically. Those are some of the things we've done just recently, in the virtual environment. Virtually, while we've been, during in the pandemic. We also provide leadership opportunities to allow our employees and associates to expand their professional development skills. And then we also work with our business development opportunity to provide stretch assignments and rotations for various opportunities to try and help our underrepresented communities to move up into the company. And so those are some of the benefits of getting involved. And then on the retention, we just finished having our annual leadership forum at corporate, and every year we give out awards to our top BRG leaders, basically around the corporation. So we recognize them for their good work that they do in the community. So that's one of the things we do on retention.
Great, great. We all recognize Lockheed Martin as one of the most valuable companies for Latinos for many years. And then Eileen, who worked on Accenture, that is currently, I would say, one of the most aggressive companies trying to recruit on Hispanos. Eileen, the same question: how you evaluate the ERG, BRG, increasing opportunities for minorities, and how about the retention and creating the feeling of familia?
I think this is a very important question, especially coming from a non-target school, coming to such a big corporation. A lot of early entry-level engineers or whatever their background is came into their own big school network. And me coming from a smaller school with not that big of a network, I found my way around the company through the employee resource group. So meaning that I found a community that I needed at the moment. Manny, I'm gonna mute you for a sec. Okay, I was getting distracted. And it was so hard for me at the beginning to feel that I was part of this big puzzle and not knowing where I really fitted in until I started getting involved with the Hispanic American ERG. How this increased like my career opportunities is because this really gave me the confidence that I was worthy, I was smart enough, that I was worthy of being at the table in those conversations with CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, and all of our strategic partnerships that we have in order to bring innovation and the digital transformation that we're driving for our clients. But if we have people in the room that they don't feel that they belong, how are they going to speak their mind and voice their great ideas to bring more innovative solutions? So the ERG really helped me equip with the level of confidence and executive presence that I needed in order to play the game. It really came down to that. As a first generation Latina, I'm always the youngest in the room. I'm most of the time the only woman in the room as well. And so how to learn my own biases, not dictate the outcome of a conversation, of an interaction and engagement with my internal team and also our external teams in order to be able to deliver the value that I have to deliver. So it was a lot of self-growth and just mindset working that I was able to get that out of the ERGs. And I think that ties really closely with, if you have a sentiment of familia, that people, if they're having a bad day, they can come to Manny or to you, Juan, or I know Will is in the call. Like if they know they have someone to reach out to, even though they're having a bad day, and there's someone there to support them and guide them through the process, I think that helps with the retention, because people will be supported, that psychological safety that they need in order to still show up at work, even after a bad day, to know that they're valued in the workplace, regardless of their background or what they look like.
Yeah, that's very fine. And you see, this is another reason why I told you before, you remind me like my daughter, okay? my daughter from Chef, and I told you before, I tell you again, I'm so proud of what you're doing and your career, and personally and also professionally. You are a very valuable person for Chef and for our Hispanic Latinas. And I tell you that from through. But Manny, like you and me, I started in a community college too. And, sometimes it's hard to go from there. I started at Lockheed Martin while I was working at night in a bank. I started at Lockheed Martin in the part-time, going to school at the same time, taking 15 hours. And first month, after the first 6 months, I asked my manager at Lockheed Martin. At that time, we were starting the space station, and I told him, "Okay, I'm going. I would like to see if I can get the full-time position." And my manager came back, "We're very excited what you're doing, Juan, but we're afraid that if we give you a full-time position, you're gonna drop out of school. And that's what I had to tell. Well, I do work full-time at night. No, if you give me that, I'm gonna work less hours. But you had to do what you had to do to get there. Especially you don't come from the big name recognized universities. And many of us Hispanos come from, like Eileen, from UTEP or University of Houston, Clear Lake, or UT Rio Grande, where there's a huge number of minorities and Latinos there that never had the opportunity to get their money. How do you evaluate the benefits and for minorities and the retention?
Okay, so this is a good one, right? So I mean, I definitely recognize like benefit of having the ERGs, right? And certainly there's the what it brings from a establishing an area where someone can feel comfortable, right? Getting into that brand new corporate space, not having the background, absolutely fundamental for that. For me, my experience was like when I got hired into Baton Rouge, there wasn't a gold chapter in Baton Rouge, although gold was an ExxonMobil like ERG group. There wasn't one in Baton Rouge, but I recognize the need and the benefits of having a group where the locals can get, establish that sense of familia. And so really it's like a bit selfish. Like I needed a place where I could find some Latinos. And when I started, there weren't a lot in Baton Rouge, but eventually there were, and that established that jumping off point, right? Certainly as I got involved and as I started to, I'll say deliver in the DE&I space, but at the same time delivering in the base, right? So I couldn't certainly forget that I was working for a business, a company, right? And so understanding what the corporate initiatives and goals was also important. So for me, as looking and see what can an ERG do? Yes, it is like the success to me in an ERG looks like, and someone can feel comfortable, maybe starting off point, but also be able to benefit the network, to progress, to understand what the company's trying to accomplish, to educate themselves in a way that maybe isn't what I'll say as obvious, right? So like for me, whenever I start talking about goals and things in an oil and gas company, I didn't have any background. I needed to learn it, and sometimes it took a bit of a struggle because I didn't have some immediate, I'll say, guidance in my life, in my family, at home or whatever, that I could talk to about what does the corporate world look like, right? So not only is it like, hey, having the sense of familia, but also being able to provide that professional development to, like Eileen said, like figure out how to work the game, right? Figure out how to understand what the system is and then deliver within it. So again, very, very important. But to me, a successful ERG is one that plays in more than just the fun parts, but maybe tackles harder items as well.
You're on mute, Juan.
I did that on purpose to see you were paying attention to me. We all know that your respective companies are leaders in recruiting minorities and women in STEM. Some of your companies even have a dedicated minority talent acquisition manager. Can you tell me your opinion about how that make a difference in the way you see the level of interest toward recruiting minorities and women in STEM? James?
Yeah, sure. So we have partner universities, Hispanic serving institutions, minority serving institutions that we work with, like UTEP and UT Arlington, and some of the other universities here in the area, Texas A&M and UT Austin, and we work we do concerted efforts and activities, engagement activities with those campuses to help prepare them to come into the workforce, and do a lot of engagement through our external diversity outreach organizations like SHIP to help develop that pipeline, basically. So we can see real time and hands-on, exactly their candidate's performance, and we can help build their resume basically, and then and then bring them into the company and get them involved into the BRGs as a leader or committee chair, and then move on up, provide different levels of mentoring, basically, whether they're just trying to get acclimated to the facility, to the processes, the area, and then more into a mid-career or senior level, career level of a career, basically. So we do that through our we have a corporate-wide mentoring program that all the BRGs are a part of.
How about you, Eileen? And what is your opinion about the difference of having the way that see the level of interest toward recruiting minorities and women at Accenture?
At Accenture, we do have a big focus on minority recruiting from different groups, depending on where you sit on the recruiting umbrella from the HR side. But Julie Street, our CEO, was very vocal and transparent about the goals that she was trying to move Accenture towards. So by 2025, they want to have a 50-50 workforce. They also published the number of Hispanic and Black communities that they were targeting. Can't remember the time frame, but it was very specific on what they were trying to get at, which I think it's great. But I think what draws my attention a little more, how many people you hire, depending on their race, ethnicity, it's very easy to track. It's a number, it's a metric that we can look at. What the biggest thing that draws my attention is how do we make sure that our students, our communities of color, are supported from whenever they started engaging with us in conversation, that recruitment process, they get hired, and how are we supporting them through their transition into a job? Whether you're a student or you are an experienced hire, that is where I had the bigger question, because that is a lot harder to track. And that is where we don't really have a grasp around retention numbers. We don't have a grasp around employee morale, like true employee morale. And so one of the things I really like about the Accenture team is that we provide mentorship through the recruiting process. So once you are interviewing, they are pairing people up to make sure that our communities of color that are historically underrepresented are supported through that process. And once they're hired, we have different mentorship programs as well, like James mentioned. But we also have conversations tailored around our Hispanic Latinx community in terms of, let's talk mental health, taboo topic in a lot of families. Let's talk about, we initiated a personal finance conversation that I'm very passionate about. And it's like, not only are we shining a light into how can we bring our powerful voices to the table, but also things that are happening in your own personal life for you to feel that you're supported, not only through the recruiting process, but once you're on board. And so retention rates and why people are leaving companies, at least I found it's kind of like a little black box because of HR policies and data compliance. But I think that is something that is very important to keep in mind, because we don't just want to hire people for the numbers. We want to make sure that they are part of our culture as a company, as a Hispanic and Latinx community. And that is part of the big reason that I'm involved with it, because I want to make sure that we have system policies in place for people to feel that they have the support system in our community.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you touched that, because one time someone during a meeting was telling me, we were talking about inclusion and diversity, and this person came, yeah, because diversity to me is numbers, and it is well, we can hire, and I came back and said, well, if it's that easy, why we haven't done it, right? Why we Hispanos, African American women are still underrepresented. One is the recruiting, but most importantly is the retention. What do you do for that person who is a superstar, who is going to go to another company in a couple of years because you are not able to make him feel like part of the familia? And one number set aside, there's a fact that Latinos tend to stay longer in companies than any other group. I don't need to tell you guys, and now you know the secret. But yes, Latinos tend to, out of any other group, tend to be longer in a company. And I think it's maybe our background. First we thank, many of us are first generation, and we thank the opportunities. It's like our parents. They never change. They live in one house and stay the whole entire life in the same home. Well, that's the same that we do for when we find a job at the beginning. Then Manny, what do you think about the conversation?
I really think that having a targeted a program is important. So like for us, we may not have necessarily the minority talent acquisition manager, but we have in our recruiting practices a very clear understanding and distinction between, say, just a top tier schools based on engineering program and graduate success and all that. And there is a subcategory which currently is needed, which is just, hey, what are you doing for your communities of color, right? What are you doing in your HSIs here specifically? So we have very specific recruiting teams for like SHIP, but also here, I would say, here in the last 10 years, it's been fun to kind of see the evolution of where I work, is to say, well, now that we're getting more representation, Latino representation, is like, where should we be looking for Latino talent? And I'm glad, it makes me proud to now have a seat at that table and say, hey, the UT system, right? We mentioned UTRGV here. Like, I didn't go to UTRGV, but I'm the captain of that recruiting team and talked to like A&M Kingsville. So there's a lot of talent in the Valley that we need to touch base in. We have a UTEP ExxonMobil recruiting team. We have a New Mexico State recruiting team. Like, these are targeted schools for some of that Latino talent. And here recently, we had another effort where we're saying, okay, how can we then tap the smaller schools in the A&M and the UT system? And finally, after 10 years, I get to go to UTSA and start pumping some life into that effort, right? And say, hey, let's go look at the Alamo Community College District. Let's look at UTSA as a source of talent, A&M, San Antonio as well, right? So these are things that when a company starts to target particular programs, and once they get folks in on what I'll say on early efforts, but then to Eileen's point, like support and develop those employees into positions of leadership, positions of influence, and to have seats at the table, like include them in the longer term strategy. I think this is how you can grow some of those programs, right? I think the need for a targeted, actionable plan is important. Otherwise, you will live and stay in that world of availabilities. Like, well, we did benchmarking and availability. Latino talent is this, of African American talent is that. In our combined recruiting efforts, we are hiring to availability, and you may be leaving it at that, and then you're constantly hiring availability, but tracking progress, right? It doesn't show up in the smaller boxes of your org tree, right? You may not see that come to fruition. So I think it's important, right? I think it's definitely important to be targeted.
Well put. And, it's all about numbers. And one thing that we all cannot deny is Hispanos nowadays are the largest minority in the country. And nothing's going to change that. You're looking at all the at least the four largest states, they all minority Hispanos as the largest minority. Not just the largest minority, but also it's going to be the largest ethnic group, like in California nowadays. The vast, Hispanos account for 40% of the population. And when we talk about, and by the way, I need Manny, I need you to give me some contacts on UTSA because we really want to also approach them. And let's not forget about the University of Houston Clear Lake. We have our friend Miguel Gonzalez, you can see, who came also from Rio Grande Valley. He did an extraordinary job building SHEP back there, and as you know, that is one of the largest chapters in the state. And now he's doing the same at UOH Clear Lake, who historically have many good grads from there because they feed JSC in many ways. But yeah, we need to continue working on all these smaller universities, non-named universities like others, because there is great potential there. Okay, can you, James, what kind of support your company offer to volunteers while attending events or conference?
Quite a bit of resources. So some of the things we do annually, we take a call for volunteers that want to join the recruiting team annually, and basically once you do that, then you get approved and take training, and then basically you can sign up to support up to 3 schools basically of your choice, basically including your alma mater basically. And we specifically look for student ambassadors, campus ambassadors, subject matter experts, basically anyone that can help represent the company to seek out our top Hispanic talent. So we do that through all of our campus engagement events like info sessions, tech talks, resume reviews, things of that nature. Support, and a lot of times we will support our college chapters at their general meetings with professional speakers. And then we have large recruiting teams for both SHIP National and Great Minds and STEM. And they tap our global diversity and inclusion department, taps all of our BRGs to support our diversity outreach conferences, basically, and across the country, basically. And so they really push having the BRG leaders to attend those conferences, basically, to help because we're the ones that have those connections and those partnerships with the students, and we usually in most cases we've mentored them, we've monitored them, we've kind of worked with them to help build their resumes, so we know kind of who's a good fit for our culture and everything. So
that's great. Believe me, we all feel jealous when we are in one of these conferences and we see the wave of Lockheed Martin people walking in the conference. No, by same token, you say you talk about GMIS that is coming this coming month, and then CHEP on November. For people who do not know, other than GMIS and CHEP, if there's any large STEM related conference for Hispanos. CHEP is becoming the largest in the nation, not just as a Hispano, but a technical conference. period. I don't believe that there's any other conference that attracts so many students as CHEP is doing.
I would agree.
And yeah, and the interesting thing is, like on GMIS, and when we review resumes and awards and all that, the large numbers of students who apply, they're also member of CHEP.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, CHEP is pretty much a humongous magnet for the Hispanic community in all over the nation. Eileen, what do you think about volunteers? I know, Accenture have a big party every conference, live conference. What do you tell us about how you get the volunteers and all that?
We like to have fun. Before I jump into that, it's interesting what you were mentioning, because I actually had a conversation with a recruiter from another company. We were just talking about the recruitment process, how it impacts our communities of color. And one of the things that was brought up in conversation is that a lot of our companies and why people are inclined to apply is through word of mouth. If I know that Manny had an amazing experience at Exxon, like, Manny, like, fix my resume, like, what should I do? All these things. And I think in our communities, storytelling has been a big piece of how we brought up, los cuentos de la abuela, los abuelos, like, they love storytelling, and that's how we create connection. And I think that is also tied into recruitment, how our students perceive us from an internship, or maybe they know someone they went full time. And I know it's off topic, but it felt right to share that in our communities, it's very prominent if someone had a good or bad experience with that company on how much they're inclined to apply and go through that process. But I mean, SHIP, it's a big part of our recruiting for Hispanic talent. Our HoLA event, it's the convention. Our highlight event at the convention is our hospitality suite, because it's really full of energy, bringing the best of Accenture in terms of keeping it professional, but it's a big networking company that you get projects, you get staff through networking, and so we wanted to kind of bring that to life with the students as well. I think getting volunteers to go to the conference, that is a lot sometimes where we see a lot of our old classmates and other friends at conference. So there's a lot of people that want to volunteer. And for me, I think what brought me to this is because Accenture was, my first big girl job with salary that I never thought I could ever have out of college. And just being that part of that pipeline to provide that opportunity to students, it can really change lives. And I have no words to be part of that process. And we have other pipeline programs that support our students, because it is consulting. We want to have some sort of experience, especially in the customer service, so we know that you can interact with our clients, even though sometimes they're hard conversations, uncomfortable conversations. So we have other events as well to make sure that they are supported until they're ready to be in a consulting capacity. Does that answer your question?
Yes. It is very interesting how your company approached, and with James, how you guys, this is not something that you decide, that your company decide, a month before to start calling for volunteer. Hey, yeah, by the way, this conference coming. Do you want to do it? It's a year plan, and that's maybe a reason why you guys have the name recognition that you have. And definitely, students tend to talk a lot about companies, like you say, and talk about. I've read a few years ago a white paper about a large company when they started many years ago to try to get into the African American and the market, getting to recruit the market. and they were having so many problems trying to hire African American, and they did the study, and what they figured out is that they already had that name recognition because of people who worked for that company, and then talking to the university that that was not a good company for African American, or the culture did not allow African American to evolve, to grow, and they had to spend a large amount of money to change that deal. But it's good to see, you know, your company doing very well, recognizing and growing the Hispanos on both companies. And then Manny, that takes Chef for granted because everybody's mechanical engineers and they all want to work for Exxon. Tell us, what do you think about how the volunteer and attending conference is look at Exxon?
I think I got disconnected for just a second, so I missed the lead up. So I heard the question around about the volunteering, but did you have some color commentary ahead of it?
Yeah, my color commentary about Exxon going to Chef when we know that Chef have a vast amount of mechanical engineers, and how do you think how the company treat your volunteers and in order to attend events and conference?
No, for sure. I mean, for sure. No surprise, Mobile has a very conservative way of doing a lot of things, and recruiting is one of them, right? So very selective as to where we end up going, and it's a yearly process around what is going to be the recruiting strategy and what are we going to do. But even when we go to a conference, you'll tend to see selective sponsorship, right? We want to get in with like the student leadership, anything that gets us in front of the maybe future student leadership, right? That's who we're interested in going to. And then we also recognize that a lot of our entry level work is in field engineering type roles, right? Supporting plants in Beaumont, Baton Rouge, Baytown, even if you're upstream, going to Midland, going to New Mexico, going to Wyoming. So we recognize that, hey, it's not for everybody to start off that way, right? Versus, I know when I went to mechanical engineering school at UTSA, I was very interested in working in, you know, the latest and greatest in air, you know, planes, trains, and automobiles, right? Like that was, it wasn't to go be work at a chemical plant as a contact engineer. But anyway, recognizing that it can be a fit is a very important thing to find out. The support is certainly there, right? We are encouraged to go to these items. It's on company time. It's seen as high valued work, right? I'm not having to, when I go to a recruiting event, yeah, I'll have to check in on a couple of things, but like my team is backfilling me, right? It's very encouraged to find folks to backfill the item that you're working on so that you can focus on the work item at hand, which is to recruit future talent, right? But it tends to be that way. And we're also we like these longer term relationships with candidates, right? We're more, by the time we go meet, like for example, there's folks that I am currently already talking to that we're gonna meet face to face in Florida for the first time here in a few months, but the recruiting process has been ongoing, right? Whether we found them through, you know, early programs like through HSF, or we've known them for a few years, they've had an internship here or whatever, like it tends to be also a bit of a longer term relationship. So again, I have folks that I have been mentoring for several years that I am encouraged by the corporation to value those activities and to engage in those activities, right? It doesn't feel like, it's extra time or I have to balance. I do get to balance it. What am I trying to get? Have it like this week. It's heavy recruiting season. I'm going to have my base work out here in 10 minutes. I'm going to have a UTRGV info session virtually. And so, but there's items that I got a couple of colleagues that are backfilling me, and I'm not losing my weekend, right? Like I'm not well part of it because we have F Sunday, but that's a separate initiative. But like that's another one. Next week I'll work on Sunday, but guess what I'm going to be doing the following Friday? I'm going to be taking off pretty early because I've given my time, my corporate time, and I don't feel like all of a sudden I got to work 100 hours because I had an extra 20, 30 hours of recruiting stuff because we're in the season. So the point I'm trying to make is though the efforts might seem small, we certainly don't come in a powerhouse like Lockheed, like you mentioned earlier, but it is very targeted. A lot of thought goes into it, and those of us that are there are fully supported, and we haven't understood that the work that we're doing is highly valued, right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, and we need to understand when we talk about Lockheed Martin, it's just to demonstrate that this was not created in one day. Lockheed Martin has been doing this for many, many years. They recognize, I remember, what was the CEO, the lady that I just forget her name.
Raquel.
Maryland?
No, Marilyn.
Oh.
Yeah, that we talk about at least 15 years ago when they really start making the change to grow. They look at that, and many companies nowadays are doing well, but many other companies still are trying to get there. And but at the end, regardless, we all want that opportunities, fair opportunities to all minorities. Well, let's talk about volunteering. We all know that you guys are invaluable for SHEP and as leaders and as mentors. Why SHEP, and how SHEP help you, and how you have been able to help others? James?
Sure. Why I volunteer for SHIP? Well, 2009, I was in a leadership development program, and I needed a community service requirement and to fulfill that in order to graduate. So it's like some people asked me to attend the Noche de Ciencias, and I attended my first Noche and back in 2009 at a local school, and after that, it just kind of stuck with me. So I became a believer at that point. So ever since, I've mentored many students, and it's just rewarding to see them grow and develop and, transition from high school to a scholarship recipient to entering their college and then developing their resume and then hopefully becoming an intern and then graduating and hopefully coming into the company basically. So, and we had a heritage with bringing in many students from all of our partner schools basically, and just seeing that success basically, and then also getting those little messages basically every now and then, like oh, I got an interview, or oh, I accepted an offer, or I got a scholarship basically. It's just very gratifying, and that's what kind of keeps you going basically, and moving forward and keep wanting to give back basically. So that's why I volunteer for SHIP, and then how has it helped me? So it kind of gives me that opportunity to kind of practice some of the skill sets that I do, in my normal daily job, basically, kind of off, and gain those skill sets, with people skills, communication, and project management, with leading, many of our programs and initiatives and operations that, those, building those skills is what kind of helps us get to that mid-career and senior level, career level, basically. So that's how it's helped me, basically. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
All right. How about you, shining star of El Paso? Why SHIP?
So how I landed in SHIP, I was a freshman in college, and it was my engineering 101 class, and part of our homework was to go to the Gold Rush, which is basically an engineering career fair. So all the engineering organizations table, and as a woman in engineering, I wanted to go talk to SWE. But there was only one person in that table, and they were taking too long, and I was on my lunch break, and I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm going to move on and see whoever I can talk to, because I just wanted to complete my homework, right? So next table is SHIP. At UTEP, we have a My SHIP joint chapter. So I talked to them. I think the following day they had a general body meeting, and so, I signed up, got my everything that I needed for my homework, but I actually ended up going to the meeting either later that day or the day after, and they were getting ready for the MICE conference. And so it was just super eye-opening for me. I had a 2-page resume as a high school student. No high school student needs a 2-page resume, even college student. So I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what professional development was. So SHIP really prepped me to own my story, get my resume on board, did a bunch of mock interviews to really kind of figure out where in my engineering career I wanted to go. I wasn't always an industrial engineer, but that's really where my passion was. I just didn't know how to go about it. And I was president my sophomore year, then was part of the regional team, national board team. And so SHIP has really been that safe space for me to grow, learn, and make mistakes from a very healthy and non-repercussion type of way. So really enjoyed creating connections that have supported me throughout my years. And now what do I do with SHIP? I've done a lot of things, but I think my heart is in community outreach, helping students get to whatever goals they want to get, whether that is a research position, whether that is getting an internship with a Fortune 500 company. If they want to talk about good consulting, if they're a little crazy like me, then we can talk about that. But really just helping students navigate the process that it was so hard for me to navigate as a first-gen Latina, that I really don't want a student to go through that. If I can be of that service, whether mentoring or guidance through a difficult situation that they might be trying to navigate. So I found a new passion of mine, personal finance, and I've been being a lot more vocal about it in my community. And so that is something that I've been partnering up with SHIP National, been presenting 2 workshops at the Latinx Factor program. And I will be also presenting about these at the national convention. So full circle.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're taking that, because as a Hispano who immigrated to this country, I can tell you how many times rumbling and tumbling. I don't know how I got here, because it's a totally different way of living, how things handle. And for us Hispanos, we don't have that, you're a first generation, second generation, you don't have that knowledge from someone from, near your house who can tell you, can tell you, no, you do this, or how you buy a house, how you start looking at your retirement when you're 23 years old, things like that. And that is part of how we can help the whole Hispano community as part of. We have a question here. And then I'm going to open it to all to ask questions to our panelists. As you know, Manny had to leave early, but Francis as what is a good model for SHIP professional chapters collaboration with the company's ERG? I think James and I will have experience because I copy James, forward. I'm taking the same approach without the name, the LM forward. But can you tell us?
You have a good coach, Juan.
Yeah, hey, and you guys are the best. No? Why recreate the wheel, right?
Yeah, some of the things we do here. So, yeah, basically we've got a good working relationship between our BRG, HoLA, and SHIP, basically, and we kind of, so the BRG kind of focuses on the career advancement and the professional development, and then we partner with the external diversity outreach organization like SHIP. Our local SHIP chapter here, and they kind of take the lead on the community outreach. So the SHIP Junior, Noche de Ciencias, ACE events, and then the mentoring out in the local community, as well as our partner universities, basically. Because we've got that connection basically between the student chapters, the high school chapters, and the professional chapter, basically. So that's kind of how we and then we rely on kind of our parent BRG for a lot of our funding and programs and things of that nature as well too. So it works out to be a good partnership together.
All right. As you know, I was president of the Houston Professional Chapter. To me, it's one of the best chapters in the nation by far. They have, especially nowadays, they have a very active group, and I'm very happy of what they're doing for the chapter. But because of my responsibility with the company and being a chair for the HoLA National for Lidos, and also a member of the Enterprise Inclusion Council for Lidos, there's not, there's only 24 hours in the day. We all know that. And I had the opportunity that I was approached by all members of the Texas Bay Area chapter. It was inactive, and that chapter pretty much was covering the JC Clear Lake area. And what we decided was to pretty much revive that chapter, but make it on the model of the Lockheed Martin Forward without changing a name, because chapter changing a name on Chevy is crazy, even though I already have a couple of board members, national board members, say, why you don't change the name to Lidos chapter? Because all the members at pretty much at the chapters are Lidos or subcontractors. And we dedicate ourselves to not just ours, but we have a very good partnership with NASA, HERC group, and also with other ERGs in the area like Boeing. And to me, we all know that one question is always come during the conference is, okay, what is the value of the professional chapter for the IPCs? And I think that is what I want to show. That's what we need to try to do is having the IPCs, ERGs, and things like that linked to the professional chapters in order to partner events. It is a lot easier, for us to get to the community when we use the Chef T-Bag name and get it out there than just Lidos here. When I go to a school and say, yeah, we are Lidos ERG, what, Leídos? What is that? And we don't have that name recognition that other companies have, other than in Reston and all that. We're growing outside. We are a large company like any of us, but how we make, what is the value to me is that we can both partner and the Chef T-Bag and the ERGs to help the community, to recognize the community, to link our professionals and the universities chapters to our recruiters through our other companies, to train them. And that to me is the best that we can do, is just trying to see how we can help each other to help our next generation of professional. Well, at this time, I'm going to open to questions. If anyone like to make ask a question to this, by the way, sorry that Manny left, but Eileen, when you get married, invite us, and I'm gonna make Manny be live podcasting out of your way. Okay, how about that? No, familia.
It will be an epic episode.
Yeah, epic episode. All right, any question? By the way, James, I'm sorry that Manny left. I have a friend of you. Maybe she'll say hi now.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, sorry. I was in another meeting, so I was trying not to talk in the other meeting too.
Jackie.
Hey, Jackie, how are you doing?
Good.
Seeing you. That's good.
I would turn on my camera, but my hair is not really done, so I can't do that.
Yeah, for the one who knows Jackie, not just work on Lockheed and know James from there, but also with Manny. He was your mentor, right?
Yeah, he still is. I still reach out to him. He looked over my resume, I'm gonna say like a month ago, and I still reach out to him like for other stuff.
Wait. He looked at your resume about a month ago?
Yeah.
No. You stay with us.
I mean, I always have to be updating my resume. No?
Yeah. That's like I always say to all, I love the people who work for me and all that, but I always tell them you need to take care of number one, and number one is your family. The job is not your number one priority. It's your health, your family. Then everything's gonna go be fine. Any question for our panelists?
Quiet crowd.
Yeah, very quiet.
know.
I'm guessing you both are gonna be in a leadership conference.
Accenture is only hosting the Shiptina breakfast in person. We will be at the virtual career fair, but our company decided to stay virtual this year.
How about Lockheed Martin?
Yeah, likewise. Our company, yeah, we only can do virtual right now, so
yeah.
So
Leidos is taking the same approach.
We won't be in person this year.
Yeah, Leidos is taking the same approach. They, like it's not that it's a decision that we make now. This was taken several months ago, and with the ups and downs of COVID at that time, was the logical thing to do.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other question, I really appreciate James and Eileen, and I hope everybody who listened to the conversation, you have heard from the best of the best of, in my opinion, to really say that what you guys done, what I watched you doing, and the time that you spend volunteering, and not just for your company but personally, is something that I really value as a person, as a member. And remember, I'm the rookie at Chef. I only had 2 years. That was your college years, right, Eileen?
Rather not say.
But that's what it is, and I'm glad to see that we all, have the same idea, same goals of helping the next generation and open doors, not just our Hispanos, our Latinas, and anybody who want to go places. We there to help.
Thank you so much for having us, Juan. This was a great conversation, and thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah,
always.
Likewise, Juan. Pleasure, as always, supporting you, and thanks for having us. So it was really good seeing some familiar faces. So.
Yeah, and again, this we're gonna put this recording on our websites, and you're welcome to spread the word, because like you, I believe this was a very, very good conversation for anyone who want to know about the ERGs, about CHEP, and about volunteerism. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye, guys.